Alright, what's going on? So I got asked to sort of explain or do a tutorial on shading. Um so I'm just gonna give like a brief rundown of how I approach shading or how I approach shading things. This will be really quick, but just to give a short little tutorial, I guess, of how I shade objects when I'm drawing or painting things. So here we go. Okay, so so to start off simply enough, if I was to just draw, let's say you just got a circle right here. Normally, in a lot of cases, people just, if you're shading, you just have light coming from this direction. Most people will just start to shade and just sort of start coloring the back area in this manner almost, just to have sort of the light hitting this way and just sort of reflecting, I guess, the light coming from here and all the deep shadows coming from behind. But to think in a better way to just shade something, let's say you have a circle and the light's coming from, once again, this direction. The more accurate way will almost to be envisioning this area right here as where the majority of your intense light is going to be at, and this area behind it, which is getting absolutely no light, which will be where your darkest portions are, and to just lighten that up gradually over time so that there's some semblance of shape to this, more so than the other ball that I just drew a second ago on the opposite side. So you just imagine where your light is coming in from, which in this case would be this area right here. And note that everything that's not getting this amount of light should be darker. I know that sounds stupid because it almost sounds self-explanatory, but it's the only way I know how to explain it. So to get a tad bit more complicated, let's say you had something like, okay, light source hitting this way. I almost tricked myself doing this. Okay, so the light source is hitting right here. Essentially, you would almost have small shadows coming down here, and this entire side would be dark, considering that there is no light whatsoever attached to this area of the square. So your light would be hitting the top portion right here. You may have a little bit of light maybe coming across this section on the front end of the square right here, but for the most part your shadow will be completely dark on this side because it's not receiving any light whatsoever. It's straight going to the top of the square. To even further complicate things, let's say this is an awful hand, by the way, but I'm just trying to make up time here. So if you have an arm like this, and let's say that the light, once again, is coming from this end, what you'll probably have is most of the shadows on the arm will be coming behind it in this manner, and in certain spots to just indicate where there are actual muscles in the arm itself. So you would shade this way in the arm, showing where the shadows would be at. a slight shadow in here in the inside of the hand. And the light would truly be hitting on this area of the arm itself. Now, I'm a weird one. I don't know if this is a correct way to actually be shading or not. Let's say this was actually attached to a body, so let's say you still had the chest and everything out in the front here. I would still sort of just do a slight dark indentation here, so the light would still be coming across this area of the arm itself, but in this inner spot right here, where there would still be a little bit of shadow inside of the, like the area in between the arm and the chest almost. So there would be a slight area of shadow within the arm. Just basically get in the habit of making sure that wherever your light source is and wherever you're picking your light source, that's where you want the majority of your highlights to be, and you want it darker where it's not necessarily showing up at. Let's see, because I'm trying to think of examples on the fly that I could give to sort of okay, so if this is a nose, let's say the light was coming from this direction. So if my light source is coming this way, I'm sort of just gonna put the shadows on the nose and this side, since once again it's not getting any light on this end, so you're leaving all of your highlights on this side right here and making sure that the shadow is coming in from the right. Hopefully that makes sense. Now, I hope I don't complicate things with how I'm about to explain this, but sometimes what I do, just because a lot of the times I'm drawing characters in an environment itself, so the odds of it just being one singular light source and not being a light that's spread out is very rare when I'm drawing. So let's say I have a ball like this and I have a light source that's coming this way. You can probably tell by now I'm right-handed. If the light source is coming this way, but there's sort of light, or at least areas of small light throughout the entire picture itself, what I'll do is, since the light is coming this way, obviously the primary highlights or whatever will be hitting this region right here on the picture. So I'll do my shadows like this. And no, this is just the manner in which I like to shade things. This is not set in stone, and it may not even be right. It's just how I do my paintings, or drawings for that matter, whatever you want to call them. So I'll have my shadows coming in this way, where the light source is sort of right here where my main highlight is. And what I like to do sometimes, just to get that glow of where the light is sort of wrapping around on other areas of the, I don't know if I can, because I have a crappy pencil, so I'm not even sure if I can pull this off or not. But what I'll do is I'll create a slight hint of that highlight all the way around the circle itself. just to add a little bit more. I didn't mean to do that. Well, this eraser is horrible. But I'll have just a slight highlight, just a thin one, right on the back side of the ball where the deep shadows are, just to add a little bit more to it. Because like I said, very rarely will you actually draw something to where there is just one singular light like this and that's it. So you essentially will be having like the ball right here where this is the light source hitting the ball, and everything that's not basically in the field of vision of the light would be in complete darkness. Instead, doing it this way, you'll actually have that hint that there may be the light's either wrapping around, or there may be another source of light that's not as intense, or whatever the case may be. You'll still have your shadows, and your main highlight will be coming from whatever the intense light source is in the image. So I'm not even sure how well of an explanation that was. Like I said, it's just how I approach shading stuff in my drawings. It's how I do things. These may not even be really hard, fast rules. Drawing is experiment anyways. You'll find your own ways to do stuff no matter what. But like I said, this is just my approach and how I tend to do things when I'm drawing a picture, painting a picture, whatever the case may be. And this is how I approach things. So I hope that just a basic shading tutorial, I hope that helps somebody out there. If you want like a more in-depth explanation or anything a little more intricate, just let me know in the comments below. I'll do like a full picture or actual full sketch and go ahead and shade that to show you. But in any event, you all have a good one, and I'm out.